Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Chantele. And let's talk about the finale of Big Brother Canada 10 and all the shenanigans that have gone around it. So much.
It's personal things that happened in Chantele's living room. Yes, we've got so much to talk about. Can't wait to go through it all with Chantele today. But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Sorry, we're running late, you guys. Mercury is going to be retrograde soon. It's just a thing.
Just a thing, but we're here now. I'm ready to talk about it. I'm still in a whirlwind because less than a week ago, I was in New York, right?
Exactly.
So
yes.
We're
going to hear all about your New York. We're going to hear about
Yes.
your return to Toronto and your home invasion.
Yes.
And most importantly, we're going to talk about these last couple evictions that led up to your boy, Kevin, one of the greatest of all time, to take the title this season. So since you haven't gotten to talk about it, let's go back to last Wednesday when we had our special eviction going from 4 to 3. We were here a week ago saying Kevin's going to go, right? Here we go.
So this, I need to still also bring in my life experience to me experiencing this episode. So I was in New York and it's supposed to be the live know-it-alls at 8 p.m. on the Wednesday. And so we know that there's a Big Brother eviction or like special eviction that's going to be happening. And so there's a green room that we were all to go to watch this at 7 p.m. So my friend Jojo and I, we decided to go. We wanted to go to the screening. And we go to the wrong theater. There's two theaters on the same street, completely opposite side. And so we had dinner somewhere and it was 2 blocks away from where we should have actually gone, but we ended up walking 10 blocks. So we got to the theater at 7:40. So there was no point in us going to watch the show. Everybody was already there, step and repeat. It was photo op time, get ready for Survivor. So we didn't get to go and actually watch. But then all the people that just had watched came flooding in and they come to me and they just tell me everything that happens. And I'm shocked because I'm like, how on earth did Kevin survive this eviction? I just didn't think there was a chance. And I was already kind of, a little bit happy, I wanted Kevin to win, absolutely. But I was also really happy because Josh was most likely the other person that could win. And if he did win, I was going to win $320. So I was like, okay, well, Josh wins. That's fine with me at this point. That was me being okay with the fact that Kevin was definitely going to be going home. So that's just my understanding of the episode. And I didn't really go back and watch it because it wasn't I didn't think that I was going to have to.
Did you see this? So you haven't seen this Veto?
No, I did. I did watch it. Okay. I did watch it now. So this was Wednesday still. And I was like, well, I don't need to rush and watch it. I'll get home, I'll go and I'll watch the Wednesday's episode, then I'll watch the finale, just thinking that it's going to be a Betty, Josh final 2. That's kind of what I'm thinking in my head. But then with Helena going home, I'm like, oh my goodness. So let's get to the episode and then I'll continue on my whirlwind.
Yes.
But I didn't watch it till last night. So after I already watched
after you already knew everything.
Yes, but I did watch it.
Well,
and going
I loved this Veto. It was so gross. They're crawling in sewers. I love it when they make the house guests disgusting. They definitely could get lost and confused and turned around. What did you think about this comp?
I thought it was great. I thought it was fun. I thought it was it was unique, absolutely, with how they had to kind of pull themselves around these sewers, that you can get lost really easily. What I didn't particularly like, though, was that the clue was reading outwards. So yes, for the camera, if it's coming in to see their face, they have to read it upside down and backwards. And I was like, could that trip somebody up and they go 23 on day 23 instead of 32 or something like that? Is there a possibility for things to be messed up that way? So I just thought that was a little bit odd, that it was more important for the camera to be able to read the instructions than the person playing the actual game. So I thought that was a little bit strange. I also felt as though Josh was going to be pretty good at it. You know what I mean? I felt that it was
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty predictable with who was going to do well, and it kind of went in the order that I was expecting. So I
Yeah, we
liked
kind
it.
of got to this point where it's like if there's any physical element, Josh is just going to get it, right?
Yeah.
Josh just has a
Mhm.
leg up with that kind of stuff. And the times really showed it. Betty had 42 minutes, Kevin had 36 minutes, Helena had 25 something, and then Josh has 17 minutes.
Yes.
I mean, this is
So
ridiculous.
there's no chance for anybody else to maybe pull out a win there. With like 8 minutes being the closest margin. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, this episode, I have never seen an entire Final Four cry before. If I
I
have,
was
I
I
have
was
forgotten
bawling.
it.
I was bawling. I was maybe that was why I did not see it at the theater, because like I was all dressed up to do like photo ops. And so like I would have been crying because literally I don't know if it's because I know what happened after. I don't know if it's because like I I know how much people that are like specifically Kevin and Helena, when you're working in a duo with someone so strongly and like you're so
Yeah,
close to actualizing what your plan was, like it's just devastating to know the two of you are going to be broken up, most likely. And so
right.
I was just feeling for them. Like I'm getting kind of teary eyed right now, but it just was like, how much they cared about each other and how much they really didn't want
Yeah.
to have to be campaigning against each other. I thought that even when they were speaking to each other, they were kind of both like being like, if it's you, will you go to the jury? Will you say this? And like they're kind of crying to each other and be like, if it's me, can you say this? And like, I don't know, it's sweet.
It really was. I mean, when I watch episodes, I'm also on Twitter, right? And like half of my Twitter feed is like, "Oh my God, I'm crying." And I was like, "Wait, what? We're supposed to be crying right now?" I was like
Sarah,
laughing
I'm
that
crying in the
they all
retail.
Chantele. I mean, I really enjoyed that like Kevin and Helena have such a duo. Josh and Betty had such a duo and like them being so supportive of each other. And like I really enjoyed watching that. But I just was like, oh wait, was I supposed to be crying during this? This is hilarious.
I cried. I cried and
Yes.
I did
A lot of people
cry
did.
at the actual exit as well. When the eviction actually happened, I did cry too. You're like, nope, okay.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the actual eviction. I mean,
Well,
Kevin was not giving up, and then, Helena's trying not to give up. She doesn't say much in the edit, but I'm sure she said more than we thought. Betty was trying not to give up, and then all of a sudden we have the four of them in a room, and it's like so awkward, and everyone is trying so hard. I thought it was really interesting that Kevin didn't give up on crash test dummies. Like he
and
didn't
that's
try to
the
save
right move.
himself. He
That's the
just tried
right
to
move,
save Helena. Yeah. Mhm.
because like in that case, like he's saving Helena at the same time without specifically campaigning for Helena. And then he's
Yeah.
also able to, he was able to also downplay or like upplay Betty's win capacity. And so like he's saying like, we had to stick together. Like we did this from the beginning, we'll be the most epic alliance of all time. Like, let's get us to the 3. We can do this. Like, and you know what though? If he had done that, I think that Josh would have been a little bit more forgiven in the jury.
Mhm.
I think that it actually would have been better for Josh's game to see like, listen, like we've been working together from the first week, like we came together, like we got ourselves to the final 3. This is why he had to portray some of you, because he had something locked in from beforehand. And I think that he would have done better potentially in the final 3.
To
And
take Betty out at this point, is that what you're saying?
exactly, to go
Oh,
crash test dummies final 3, I think that he
yeah,
might have saved some jury anger,
yeah,
because yeah, like
to just fully
I
own
think
that, yeah.
to own it, if because like we learn in the next episode that he's not going to keep Betty safe. So what was the point of keeping her safe at 4 when he could have actually locked in that final 3 with the crash test dummies? Like he would have probably better odds to win against one of those people if he has that locked in, the final 3.
I hear you, but, there's also the risk, because Helena and Kevin are gonna take each
Take each
other.
other. Well,
So,
Kevin did say
leaving
that he's
Betty
like
in the game
he did
gives him
say
an
that he
odd to
wasn't
give
going to
each
take
other.
Helena. in front of Helena. Remember, he's like, "Oh, Helena, by the way,
yeah.
I'm not taking you."
I couldn't believe, I mean, he was going to though, but in this moment, the fact that he was like, Helena, I'm just not gonna do it. I was like, God, they're such a good duo that they can say that kind of stuff. And then they're just like, yeah, no, I get it. We're taking each other. But he could say it in front of her. That's so convincing to Josh. Like so super convincing. All right. Well, we finally get to this eviction moment here where he does go ahead and use the veto on Betty. So Betty is going to stand up, do her sole vote to evict. And this is when I fall out of my chair because she evicts Helena, and Kevin has lasted another round.
I like watching it back, I was still floored. I'm like,
Yeah.
they say at the beginning of the episode, Josh wants Selena there because I mean, I think this is a terrible rationale, but he's like, oh, I want her to never go up on the block so I could say that she never did anything in this game. And it's like, that's not the right read, babe. Not the right read. So, but even having that, like the fact that he was able to, like Kevin was able to convince him that he was worse. Like,
yeah.
What?
That's that. I was shocked in this moment, but I was like, holy crap, Kevin is so good at this game that he had Josh so convinced that nobody likes Kevin, that he has no odds of winning this game, that he
Hasn't won
Betty,
anything.
because
Mhm.
Betty
Just like
has
Veto.
clearly said, I want to evict Kevin. Like, I want Kevin gone for, I think, the wrong reasons, but whatever. It doesn't matter because it didn't turn out. So obviously Josh had to convince her and say, well, but I think we have a better chance of winning with Kevin here. Helena can win comp. She can maybe win in the end. And so this, all credit from me goes to Kevin that this moment has happened and Kevin is in final 3.
It's actually shocking because I did think that when he didn't vote out, when he didn't keep JC Lynn, that was his game losing move.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, it's over. Like I stopped even like rooting for him because I just thought there was this like actually no chance. I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go all in on Josh. So I went all in on Josh on my stocks. I can't believe like people, whoever put it, I went all in on Kevin, won big. Wow. For the stopwatch.
Well, let's jump to the finale now. Thursday night, BB Can is just really epic with with the production value. Like this iconic intro that happened, this beautiful recap, and then they just get right to it. Part 1 of HOH, boom. Then we go right into part 2 HOH. Like it was all just so well produced and well done. And I just love this finale. But let's start with part 1 of the HOH. They're balancing coins. They're walking back and forth. It's taking like half a day. So long.
So me watching this. Okay. So this is now more the prelude of how my experience is watching this episode.
Great.
So
bring us in.
Obviously, like Wednesday happens, New York, like I was going to be leaving New York on the 8:30 p.m. flight back to Toronto. It's like an hour and a half or so. And my friend Jojo was on the earlier flight. And so he's like, do you know what? How about maybe you come with me to the airport and just get on the earlier flight? And so I was like, okay, do you know what? Like, I don't need to dilly dally around New York anymore. Like either I'm staying for a while or like it's time for me to go home. So we go for lunch and I'm like, okay, let's go to the airport. Let's see if I can get on an earlier flight. So before we even start doing this, I get a message to see whether or not I would do the finale recap. And I was like, I don't know if I can. I'm not sure if I'm going to be back. And I'm like, and my voice is kind of dying, but let's see. Let me see. Like, give me a few hours to see whether or not I can get on an earlier flight.
Right. Because you're originally not scheduled to do this recap. You were not planning on doing it. Nope. This is all happening on Thursday. Right.
Exactly. So that's why I hadn't like made sure that I'd watched that episode yet. Like I hadn't, like it wasn't part of like my thought process. I was just going to like go home and leisurely watch it. You know what I mean? I didn't think that I had to, be prepped. So get to the airport, I am able to get on an earlier flight. So I just started to like drinking teas and hot waters just to try to like soothe my voice or whatever. I tell Sam, like, Sam, yes, I should be home early enough to do the recap. He's like, perfect, amazing. So get on the plane, whatever, plane's on time. It's actually even early, but of course there's no gate on the tarmac for like 20 minutes to half an hour. So that was like, okay, there's no point in me being like, I was like, now I'm going to be late for this recap that I said I could do because I thought I was going to be home at 8:30 and now I'm going to be home at 9:15. So finally get home at around 9:05, 9:10. And I start sitting down and watching the episode. So I'm fast forwarding furiously through the commercials. And like, even this particular part of the competition, I was kind of fast forwarding a little bit just to like, save myself some time. When I'm going up the stairs, I hear commotion. Like I hear like there's a party going on, but they have parties all the time. There's always watching sports. Like there's always just like cheering, yelling. Like, so I'm just like, oh, they're having people over tonight.
You're like, what sporting event is going on? Great.
Exactly. So carry my bag, my luggage upstairs, sit down watching it. And I know that there's a party going on and there's like a lot of loudness and commotion while I'm watching this episode, kind of furiously fast forwarding through it because I don't have 2 hours to watch this 2-hour finale. I have like an hour and 10 minends. So, okay. So this is what's going on while I'm watching this competition. I'm fast forwarding half of it. I thought it was really good though.
It was really great, right? You missed this part because it took forever and they're just dropping. They'll stack 22 and dropped 24, drop.
I got the gist of it though, definitely. Like
gist.
I watched it for a little bit and I was like, okay, who's in the lead? And I was like, oh, 26 and they need 26 or whatever it was. I definitely knew it took a very long time and I was
there was a moment when Kevin stopped and started to try to figure out a strategy. And I think he figured it out. And I think this is what made the difference because he offset, like he staggered instead of this, like everyone's doing this.
Right. Cause then at the top, it would be a little bit wonky. So if it's stacked like this, it'll have a really good center of gravity. Smart.
Yes, I think that was the key because then, doesn't take much longer. He maybe dropped 1 or 2 times, but he then is able to pull it out, which, Kevin has sucked at so many comps. And here he pulls it out.
I'm like, is Kevin going to win the final HOH and take himself to the final 2? I was shook at that point. I was like, I can't believe this. Like, I can't believe I was so wrong with what I thought was going to be happening. Like, I was like, I was so happy for him. It was such a hard competition to beat everybody with. I think that if JC Lynn had been there, she might have been the person that would have won that one. I feel like she might have had the better balance, but who knows?
Yeah.
But I was very happy
same
for
with
him.
Helena. I think Helena would have had high odds to have won it as well. I mean, you never know. She trips over everything. She's a Sagittarius. That's what we do best. But Josh and Betty are like, dang it, we kept Kevin because he's the worst at comps. And he pulls this out. I know that they were so frustrated. But now we move on to HOH part 2, which is, sad for Josh and Betty, but it has to be them versus each other. And poor Betty does this comp for 2 hours, Chantele. 2 hours.
It was a really bad showing. I mean, especially for the beginning of the season. And I know that it's completely different doing these challenges on TV, like under pressure, than it is from at home. So of course, I give everybody the respect from being able to like do it at all. But like she was coming onto this being like, I want to be a comp beast. And like, she's been a comp bust, unfortunately.
I mean, I just feel bad for her because she has such a good attitude about it all. And because I don't think, but like 1 hour doing this comp and not being able to drop those bags on the ledge, I would have thrown a bag at a camera and destroyed the room and like given up and probably walked out. I don't know that I could have handled it.
I do get frustrated with things like that. I would have hoped that I would get it done, but like I definitely wouldn't like I would make sure, like Josh, when he was doing his, there was at one point he was kept on making the same mistake and he kept on running up and doing it over and over again, not changing
Yeah.
things. And that's what I just didn't understand, why he was exerting all that extra energy without like really locking it down and trying to figure out what the error is, because just going and doing it again isn't going to change that you did the exact same thing and got it wrong. So
Yeah.
I think that I
Well,
would
I
have
think he
probably
was
taken
just
more time.
changing the other things. I think he was just not changing the correct one.
Oh, I thought he was just doing the exact same thing over and
Because
over
he
again.
kept saying, like, I know this one. So we kept changing the other ones. And then he was like, wait a minute, that was wrong. But here we are. Josh is going to do this in 34 minutes, which doesn't seem that bad compared to Betty's 2 hours and 2 minutes. So Josh pulls this out. This one is not surprising, though. We're going to give him
Betty
the
was
edge.
just giggling though, which I thought was cute though, just like because
Yeah.
she's just like, I wasn't even in the running.
She's like, this is absurd. 2 hours? This is absurd. Yeah.
Not even close.
Very sweet. Okay. So real quickly, the jury roundtable had Kiefer. How do you think
I love
what do you think
that.
of him?
I thought it
Yeah.
was great seeing Kiefer. I thought that he was, I believe, probably I think he was my favorite player of the season. I thought that I was more so rooting for his decisions. You know what I mean? I was backing what he wanted to do. And so I think that meant that he was the most strategic out of everybody that was playing last season, in my opinion. So I love seeing him there. I love seeing him asking some of the questions. I don't know if I'm just over it, but like I don't know if I care for the petty summer thing anymore. Like I get it, like you're upset, but like I kind of want something new, right? A new color, a new something else. I get it. You've been done wrong, but like is there anything else? Any other reason?
Right. Well, ultimately you were voted out just like everybody else in the cast on the show. So like you weren't really done that much dirty. Yeah, you thought you were aligned with Josh, but guess what? We all think we're aligned with people. And then we're playing Big Brother, and so we're not always aligned with them. Like I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like I was just like I'm just done with the pettiness. Even though I might have be that same way myself. Like it might be really hurt. I might have been really bitter. Maybe I would react in the same way, but I just wanted to see more game reasons, or her maybe coming around, or her being surprised about something. You know, I just wanted her to have maybe a little bit of a change of heart or something, or just perspective.
Yeah. Right. And I think she gets it, but not until Josh answers her question. So much later. Part 3 of the HOH. Kevin, he does his part. He does the best he can. They both miss one question. He misses one. Josh misses one. Now Kevin misses the first one. So I was like, this is it, right? He's going to lose by one.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, Josh isn't going to get any of them wrong. There's no way that these AB questions wrong. There's just no way. Like you're not going to. You're good at these. Yeah. You're good.
And he is good, but he did miss one. So we were all tied up. We do a sudden death, which made no sense because it was just one question and they both get it. And now we're going to do a typical math thing.
Like, why wouldn't they just do more of those sudden deaths? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why they need to go to a tiebreaker when they could just do a few more of those questions. Like, eventually someone's going to get them wrong, I would say.
Yeah. Don't call it sudden death if it's one question. Like, that's just one extra question.
Right. It's like they only did 6 questions. Now we have 7.
Yeah. Come up with like 2 or 3 at least if you're going to call it sudden death. But no, we're going to go to math tiebreaker, and Josh is going to be pretty darn close here.
That was a hard one. It was a little bit different than most of their questions, because I believe it was how many hours in the house was each of the jurors, like how long they were in the house. Was it all the jurors or all the previous players? I don't remember actually.
No, it's just jurors, right? It's all about the jury.
So like, I mean, I wouldn't have even thought to memorize that particular stat, but I guess you'd have to be like, how many days was each person in? And then.
But you don't have that kind of time. I mean, she asks for an answer so quick. You're like, quick. Wait, there's 8 jurors. I have to go. Like, how many days?
So you'd have to just do the middle juror and times like everybody, I guess. Like 7 people, 6 people. I don't know. So I
Right.
don't know
First
how I
juror
would have
is
guessed
what
this.
day, last juror is what day, like average something in the middle there. But yeah, Josh is going to do pretty decent here. Dr. Josh, pretty
Dr.
smart
Joshy.
guy. And so we're not surprised Josh is going to take this. We would have been very surprised if Kevin had. But Josh needs to make a decision. Kevin and Betty are sitting right there. This is it. Josh, you have to determine who you bring with you to final two. Who are you going to beat, Josh?
Shook. What did he,
Shook.
what was going on? What was going on in his brain? I didn't understand. I
He
was
is
like,
so distraught. He's emotionally destroyed to make this choice. He did not want to make this choice. And we're all screaming because it's not the best game choice. So why emotionally torture yourself? But I'll tell you what happened. Kevin has been in his head for weeks that Betty hands down wins this game. Her underdog story, it's it. Betty wins. Betty wins. Can't keep Betty.
and the
And that's
Wednesday
all Josh.
episode really showed that, like, he said a lot. It's like, yeah, her game's so good. He's like, I would even be rooting for the underdog game. Like, I love seeing, like, when people were asked, like, who do you vote for? Who do you like to win? And like I don't think that Kevin respects Betty's game, to be honest, but
No.
he definitely is going to tell that to Josh. Like, watching it back, I was like, he got in his head and like allowed Josh to make the ultimately worst decision for his game. Like, he's been making
Worst
bad
decision.
ones, but this was the worst.
This was the worst. And honestly, I can't be mad at Josh. My heart goes out to him. He just straight up got outplayed by Kevin. And he did this thing that was destroying his soul. He's like sobbing, as a Josh will do, to cut Betty, but he just thinks this is the way he's going to win. And it's so wrong. I give Kevin all of the credit, really, but it helped that Betty on the other side is going, Kevin's got to go. Like, Kevin doesn't deserve to win. Nobody likes Kevin. Like, she was balancing it out, giving it more, credibility, more oomph to what Kevin was
Absolutely,
saying.
because if she's saying that, like, oh, he's everybody hates him, nobody likes him, nobody would vote for him, right? It's like, oh, so I should keep him. Like, she kind of,
Exactly.
yeah, helped
Yeah.
him sink her game.
Yeah. So a devastated Betty's going to walk outside of the house. She's like, wait, what? She's going to leave. Kevin is like, oh, great. Thank you. And now we're going to have some questions. We're going to have some last minute speeches here. What were your highlights or what was your takeaways from these last moments?
Well, I did love, I think it was still before the final 3-part, when Haran was hosting and they're in the squares and it was like a game show and they're kind of like doing like little quirky moments. I thought like that was a nice little added piece to kind of bring back in the game show element that kind of got lost after episode 1. And so I liked at least seeing it be pulled back again. So that was really, I thought, very fun before the final head of household. With the jurors, I actually felt that the jurors ask some decent questions. Like, lately it seems like the jurors are just asking maybe questions that the producers want them to ask, or like, I don't know, they just didn't seem like they were that great, but it did, for me, it seemed to give them an opportunity to actually shed some light of their game, or it was like information specific to that particular juror that they would want to hear. So I actually didn't mind the jury questions.
Yeah, I think the jury questions were pretty good. And I think Kevin did a really great job of explaining stuff. But I still thought Josh did well, too. Like, he apologized to Summer, and I think I could see Summer calm down a bit. Josh and Betty had a really emotional moment now in front of the jury. I think Josh did okay. I think Josh did fine, right? His social game was what he was really hanging his hat on. And when he got to his speech, he talked about it. But unfortunately, when you're hanging your hat on a social game, if you betray people, it means a lot more, right? Kevin can betray people because he's not playing socially. He's playing a strategic game, and you forgive that stuff. So so his speech talking about his relationships and representation, that's great. I love it. But then Kevin gets up and he just effing nails it.
And I said this on the finale recap that like I don't usually like the people that are like yelling, like when Summer was like and
Yeah.
Camila were yelling. I usually don't like that because like I feel like their points get lost. But I was getting hyped up like by Kevin. I was like, yes, yeah, like for the five. Like I was with him, and I think that that's what the people in the jury felt as well. They wanted to award or reward him for the fact that they were part of his game and he was enjoying it so much. And it seemed like Josh was kind of just like upset by how he made people feel. And so they wanted to give it to Kevin, who was making them feel good about winning this game, making them feel good about giving him their vote.
Yeah, I mean, they were like standing up and cheering as Kevin is like getting more and more hyped. He's like trying to rush through it. I don't think he was like yelling on purpose. It was just like, like getting through it. And they're like, yeah. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I see how the jury feels at this
They were so hyped. So hyped. And like it was just so polar opposite to poor Josh, like not even realizing how much he was going to be losing. Like this was that was like the moment where he was like, oh, I might have made a big mistake.
He was like, wait, what? Kevin has been running this on. I mean, like he knew that deep down. He just, oh, poor Josh. If he had brought Betty, does he win?
I don't think so.
I don't know. It would have at least been close though.
It would have been close. Like he might have still had maybe Helena and Kevin, because I don't think that they would have voted emotionally. I think that they would have still been like, Josh did play, in my opinion, or their opinion, a better game than Betty.
Better than Betty, yeah.
So he might have had those two votes.
I feel like he would have got, he probably would have gotten
Marty's, yeah, he might have gotten Marty's. He might have gotten JC Lynn and Gino's. So he could have won. I think he had a better chance of winning the game if he went.
He definitely had a better chance, yeah. But the jury was pretty high on Betty, and maybe that's bitterness against Josh. So I think it would have been closer. I don't think it would have been a guaranteed win for Josh to have taken Betty. I don't know.
But he might have gotten more than one vote.
Yes. So ultimately, he gets Betty's vote. That's his only vote here. Everyone else is going to vote for Kevin, including Canada. Way to go, Canada.
Finally. But I'm thinking that the reason why that happened is that most people voted for Betty, and then Betty was not part of that. And so definitely Kevin would have been the next person to get votes there.
I'd like to
so
think
that's a little flawed.
Canada's vote.
Well, do you think that he would have gotten Canada's vote if it was Betty and him? Yeah. Okay.
I'm just gonna hold that in my heart. I don't know that that's
fine. I totally am fine with that.
Who knows? I mean, a Kevin Betty final two is odd, so I don't even consider that.
Continue on with my heart attack that I have Thursday.
Right. So you have now like wrapped up. You're sitting at home.
So
you've wrapped up the episode.
This though.
Oh,
before the episode ends, right?
Yeah.
So like, that there's a commotion that's happening and the party going on or whatnot. And I was still midway through the episode. I hear screaming, like cheering, screaming. And I start hearing some chanting and like people going outside to the front. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going on, but I just hear, I'm like, I guess somebody scored a goal. Like I really thought it was full on. And it happened at about a few minutes to 10. Okay. So I was just like, it didn't compute yet or whatever. So I just want to set that up a little bit as well before we continue.
Well, go ahead. Tell me. So we've finished the episode. I assume you're getting on with Rob as a podcast. You're streaming. And then you're
And
home
I'm
in
early.
Vegas.
I'm the first one early. And I'm like, oh, okay, if I'm the first one early, let me go back and like watch some of the little bits and pieces that I kind of fast forward a little bit through. So I was watching it back whatever while I was waiting because Taryn is still in New York. He has had pretty wonky Wi-Fi, but they still wanted to do the recap. So he was kind of late setting up from where they had their viewing. And then same Jacob Jones had to go home. So he was a little bit delayed. And then Melissa was live and online when she didn't come with us to New York. So she should have been like the most perky, but then she had internet problems. So it was all like, it's a comedy of errors at this point. And like, we were trying to just like all get online. So we finally get online. We start talking. Jacob Jones joins us. It's all fine and dandy. I hear
Normal recap.
a knock on my door. And I'm like, I don't understand why I heard the knock. Like I was ignoring it at first. And then I was like, well, they're having a party right now. Like maybe something happened or they're warning me of something or like it could be something serious. So do you know what? Like I know that there's people there. So if they're knocking for me, like they need me because there's multiple people around. So I was like, okay, 1 second, go over and open the door. And my two downstairs neighbors, there's 3 of them that usually live downstairs. They're holding this shirt and they're like, Kevin used to live downstairs from you. He's a big fan, and like, he just won, and we've been celebrating, and we're celebrating downstairs. I'm like, oh, I'm doing like the recap right now. They're like, I know, we're watching you do the recap right now, and I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, like we know that you're on the podcast, and like, and so Kevin, like he just won and like he used to be our roommate and he's still downstairs and like I'm still like not really understanding and I'm like I need to go tell this is like wild and amazing, but I'm like I think it'd be better if they just told it. So I just kind of set them up and they came in and as you guys saw they showed the shirt that they had made. They made this one for me because so it was only maybe about 2 weeks ago that they realized it was me. So they had been listening to, or the one guy that I know like the best, like the most common of the neighbors, he said that like he was listening to all these updates, so the live feed updates or the round table. He knew that Kevin was a big fan, but he wasn't a big fan of Big Brother or really any sort of like reality games. Maybe Survivor, one of them was Survivor a little bit, but like this was not their world at all. So like they are immersing themselves in his world because their friend is on this show. And so they were watching everything that he would be watching about this show. And so he had been listening to the audio this whole time. And then he finally put it on YouTube and he recognized me and he's like, and it was live. And so this was like a couple weeks ago. And so he turns down the volume and he could hear me upstairs talking. He's like, hey, I know it's her. I know it's her. So now he knows it's me. And so they've been waiting until he either was kicked out because they thought he was going to be kicked out a week ago. Right. But he wasn't, or he was going to win the game. So they were waiting to tell me this and they decided to sit on it until now. And so they tell me at the finale where I was like most shocked and surprised. So at the 10 p.m., that whole big screaming that happened was them celebrating their guy, Kevin, winning the game. And so I didn't understand, obviously, because I was behind in the episode. So it didn't all correlate for me. And so I was honestly, I'm still beyond shocked that it's happened. Now I'm thinking of all the times where I think that I've had interactions with Kevin. So once I speak to him, I'm going to ask him, I'm like, was it you that needed to come through my apartment and climb down my, like I have a big patio because you lost your keys? I'm like, was that you? like, I'm just trying to remember all the times where I think I'm like, that could be him. Because there's always 3 guys that were living downstairs for the last few years. Before that, it was a family that I knew pretty well. But these guys was just like, I don't know, always having parties, like whatever. Also, one guy once brought up my luggage after a flight. And so I'm wondering if that was Kevin as well. Because I'm like, could have been, because it wasn't the people that I know.
So he lived there with these 3 dudes, like roommates, and Kevin was there for roughly 2 years, and he left not too long ago, or I don't know, 6 months ago, something, to move in with Jillian.
I'm not sure when he moved in with Jillian. I'm not sure where the overlap is.
Mhm.
Sorry. But I think that thinking it's from 2018 to 2020 is what I'm thinking. So
Oh,
he
18 to 22. So you think like
maybe
maybe oh, okay. So it
maybe
might
I
have been a
wasn't
couple years.
podcasting when he lived here. That's a
Right, right.
possibility.
Yes.
Um,
Because also,
because
like, if it had been 2 years during the pandemic, like, people just didn't leave that much. Like, maybe you just didn't see him that often because you're both kind of inside a lot. But yeah, it could have been before you were class of 2020 and he wouldn't
right, it
have.
could have been right before. Like he still could be watching me, but
Yeah,
like it wasn't him watching me like living underneath my kitchen, right?
right.
Like
Yeah.
so I haven't figured out what the timeline is, but if he's who I think he is, it would have been when they first moved in, the group of them. And
Mhm.
I'd have to go look at like my actual records because like I remember they were going to take over my apartment, but then they decided on the apartment below me because his friends' parents they own the building. So I
Yeah.
was going to be kicked out, which is like also
Yeah.
really interesting as well. So I think that that's when he came in because they've been friends since I think even pre-high school. Like they've known each other for a really long time.
Yeah.
So there were just like
And
these boys that
Kevin
lived
hadn't
downstairs.
put it together as well. So, like, you haven't put it together, but Kevin hadn't either because Taryn brought it up to Kevin in their exit interview. And Kevin didn't realize he lived below you. So it was equal parts, just serendipitous, y'all being near each other and not fully realizing it.
So now I wanted to take this serendipitousness into our chart
Yes.
because I thought that that was, remember when we were looking
Yes.
at Kevin's birth chart? Actually,
I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to
okay,
bring
good.
it up.
I had it somewhere too. So I was saying it's very similar to my chart, right? So both of us, if I'm not mistaken, do you need me to send it to you?
No, my system preferences are like telling me this is not a thing. Hold on. Let me work on this. Go ahead. You talk.
So as far as I remember so I have his chart here. So both of us have rising Cancer. So Cancer is, about family and home and, that's kind of the face that we put onto the world, which is our rising sign. And we both have our sun. So how we like our ego, it's both in Aquarius. In his is 3 degrees, mine is 5 degrees in the 8th house, which is not that common.
No, it is
For
not.
like two random people to have like, what I mean, these two kind of parts similar. And so then I was wondering if we can find in our charts why we both pick the same spot to live.
Right.
Because like that's fascinating, right?
That
Like that we
is.
have similar
Toronto is a
makeup.
city. This is not like a small town you guys live in.
No, there's like 5 to 8 million people here. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of people. And like I do know a lot of people, not gonna lie, but like he's not in my age demographic at all, or like in kind of a circle that I run in at all. So it's completely separate world. And so I just think that that was fascinating. And then he also, I think there was something else that we had similar. Let's see what it was. So he has all of that Aquarius in the 8th house. He has his Venus, so his values in the 8th house, and then his
Well, what
Mercury
I
has
had similar to him was his 12th house moon. And his 12th house moon is what keeps secrets. And he turns out he was very, very good at keeping information and using it only when necessary. That was the one thing I had in common with him. Unfortunately, I can't bring up his birth chart, but what I have here is his birth chart is in the inner circle and his solar return is on the outer circle because I did a little more of a dive into his chart, which we can talk about in a second. But was there something else you wanted to say about his chart?
No, I want to hear what you have to say next. Because I want to see also what you brought. Remember when you were saying you're like you felt as though because he had all that like he had Jupiter in the 5th house, and you were thinking that and with all of his other 8th house stuff, that potentially fun and games and then stuff with other people's money would warrant him a win. So maybe if you can talk through that again.
Yeah, so I ultimately was bold and predicted he was going to win it by looking at his chart because of exactly what you just said. Jupiter in the fifth house. Fifth house rules games. And it's all about fun and creativity, and games is part of that. It also rules other things, but that's what is important from this. And then he has his sun in the eighth house. He also has Venus in the eighth house. These are positive things, and the eighth house rules other people's money, which is a wide range, but part of that would be winning money. So I was like, his chart looks good for someone winning a game show. And then I went, yes, Adam, I know this is gibberish, and I know looking at it is a lot because you've got two charts here. But what I want to say about it, I'm just showing it in case you guys do know astrology, is there's a thing called perfection. And every year we have a house that is the theme of our year. And guess what is his theme this year, Chantele?
Eighth house?
Fifth.
Fifth? Oh, fun and games. Oh my God. Yes. He's definitely.
This was the year for
him to play games. Mm-hmm.
He's in a fifth house year, which means themes are fun, creativity, and games. And then what you do is you say, okay, what does he have in fifth house? He has Scorpio, and Scorpio is ruled by Mars. And then whatever you find is the ruler, you go and you find that in the chart. And then you look at how it's placed. Does it have positive reinforcement? Does it have struggles against his Mars? That kind of stuff. And so look, what I did was then, dug around these things. This is why I have his solar return here. I want to see where his Mars is, how it's placed this year. And ultimately, long story short, he's got Mars sextiling his sun and Saturn and squaring his Jupiter, which is complicated, but ultimately he's got the support of Jupiter, even though, a square is like, there might be some bumps along the way, which we saw. But Jupiter
Saturn, confirms things, though, sometimes, like makes things real, like etched in stone. Sorry, continue.
Well, and Jupiter is that's our luckiest thing. That's expansion, that's success. And so anytime you can have the support of Jupiter, you're going to have a good year. So, all of this mumbo jumbo, the stars were aligned. And even though we were like, okay, obviously he's going to get voted out now, twice we said this, the stars were just there. He had the support of the planets. It was going to be a good year for him for games and winning money. So, way to go,
so
Kevin.
Cool. Way to go, Kevin. I also have to say, I'm very thankful that I did end up winning my draft. I'm sorry, guys. I know that the final, all of us on Reality Realness's draft, the audience was going to be rooting for Josh. Michelle was rooting for Betty. Jojo was rooting for Helena, and I was rooting for Kevin. And I did come out victorious, supporting my Aquarius king. Super happy that he was able to represent, especially since we were worried from the beginning that we weren't going to be able to see him, Helena, and JC Lynn do well, just because they were going to be outnumbered by people that were most likely going to be playing a little bit more emotionally than they would be. So I was worried with all this, with all the Virgos and all the Taurus, and there's a little bit of Pisces and Cancer, that like they weren't going to be able to do well. But I love that strategy prevailed.
It really did. And I mean, this was the season of Virgos, and the Aquarius, he took over, he took charge. I wanted to ask you, because you have the same houses that he has. You both have Cancer rising, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his seventh house is Capricorn, and Capricorn is one of the most loyal signs there is, and seventh house is partnerships. It can be romantic, but it can be business. It's just one-on-one relating. And so he also has his Mars in his seventh house, which goes along with everything this year. But he really did show us that he was loyal to
Absolutely,
his
to his relationship.
partner,
Hmm.
but that Mars in his 7th house is combust the sun, and I
A
know that
little
that's
more.
not, yeah, it's not great, but when I was looking it up to see exactly, it can be overly competitive, will win at all costs, and I was like, "Well, we saw that." Yeah.
We
Mhm.
did see that. So let's do a quick speed through of
Yes.
everybody's their cards that I pulled preseason. So let me just get this
Right.
going
So,
for us.
reminder, Chantele pulled tarot cards for each person, which is very fun to try and figure out what that means. But now that the season is over, we can, I don't know, have better predictions.
Exactly. We can understand a little bit more what the card means. So I pulled an Ace of Wands for Melina, and I thought that this was going to be really positive for her. I know when she came in, she kind of wasn't really that chatty, but I was thinking that, oh, maybe she'll stay and she'll be able to get to the end to the win, because aces are like new beginnings and wands are fire. And it's like, yes, 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 she's going to, it's like a go for it kind of card. But I think in this case, it was,
First,
and then just,
yeah, an ace is a first. So, we can now understand that it just meant she's going to be first out.
first out in some capacity, not going to be able to fully blossom and bloom. She is
No.
not going to sprout very much. So, who was out next? It was Jay, wasn't it?
Probably. I don't have my list.
Actually, I have the list here. Hold on, let me double check. Yes, so
Oh, the
Jay.
fool. Mhm.
So I remember you were thinking that the fool could potentially mean that, like, completely go against being out early, and that maybe it means it's going to be a winning card. I think that it was
It was
a
just the
better
fool.
assessment to be like you're out first, but it's like fooled ya, not first, second.
How about second?
I think that if I see the fool reverse, I would think that definitely somebody that would be going out early.
Right. Yeah, the fool is the beginning of the journey. It's similar to an ace. It's the beginning of the whole shebang. And yeah, my only question was because it was reversed. I was like, okay, what does that
It's going to
mean?
be
So
opposite. So sometimes
yeah,
it means
but
locked energy. Sometimes it means you kind of have to go back to the energy of the previous card, but this is the beginning. So maybe that means like go back to sequester, like, or go back home. And
yeah, just
so
leave the house.
yeah,
Yeah.
leave the house. So yes, so that was
Yeah.
Jay. Next up was Stephanie, and this was also, I think, pretty
Stephanie
interesting.
went out third. Wow.
Yes. So
Kyle bumbled so early.
yes, you did. So Stephanie, another Virgo here, 3 of Cups reversed. So I definitely felt that she was going to go out in a third place type position.
Mm,
Definitely thought it was going to be early, and she did go out third here. So no celebration of the
mhm.
3 people here, of 3 cups. I did predict that she'd go out third or early.
I thought it was gonna be another love triangle, but going out third makes more sense. Yep.
We did speculate, maybe be like it could be a love triangle, but right now it's feeling like she's out soon.
Yeah.
Then our guy Kyle. I mean, it wasn't my guy, but
Ah,
did I
Twitter,
not
BB
put him
Twitter's
on
guy
here?
Kyle.
Oh, here he is. So Kyle got the Knight of Swords, which was really interesting. Is
Yeah.
that that's
Wow.
the
That's
Kanye
right
West
on.
card. When I was learning tarot, that like we kind of took some celebrity with their kind of attributes to kind of remind us of what the court cards could mean. And so now knowing that he was the Knight of Swords, that means like chaotic energy, and it's not sustainable in these types of games. So if I see a Knight of Swords,
Mhm.
I think it's gonna like completely screw his own game over and kind of self-combust.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is so spot on because a Knight of Swords is like this idea, swing to this idea. It's like, it's almost like a teenager who's like goes from one extreme to another. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, exactly what he
He
did.
could
So
not stay the course to save his life.
that was pretty bang. Well, I didn't really understand it then. I thought that he was going to do better, but now I understand way more with the Knight of Swords what that could mean for somebody playing a game like this.
Yeah.
So then we had Tanisha. So Tanisha, our only Scorpio this season, 10 of Wands reverse. Any reverse cards I was not going to be considering necessarily as somebody that was going to win. So this is why some things get a little bit murky when we get later on. So this one though is usually like you can see like the guy, he's just like toiling away, and it seems like that's kind of what the role that she played, like she was kind of holding things together. She was seemingly kind of the mother energy of the other players, and so I didn't really predict when she would go, but I knew that she was not going to win. This card,
yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, a 10 of Wands isn't a great card. Is she the 10th person out? Like, what is this?
no, she's the
week is
5th,
this?
but interesting. So 10s are like ones, but with lessons learned. So if we look at it in that regard, that it's a 10, which is like a new beginning with a little bit more understanding. So it's kind of like an ace. So maybe moving it halfway through, you know what I mean? Like, so 10 is like, it would be 10 weeks, and this week it'd be 5 because it's reversed. Yeah. But if I see now, depending on the structure of the game, that I'll look at maybe a 10 of Wands in reverse as 5 weeks into a game. That'll be from now on. We'll use it as a measure.
Wait, you just muted yourself. Did you do that on purpose?
Can you hear me though? Because sometimes it does weird. Okay, good. Yeah. I just saw her. Them. So Jess had Justice and 8 of Cups reversed. And I was trying to figure out what that actually meant. But I'm thinking that they thought that they were doing the right thing. They thought that, they were playing their game really well, but then they kind of got screwed by the twist. And so it was justice for kind of other people, I would say. And she kind of got taken out in that double eviction. Correct. Yes. And so with that 8 of Cups reverse, 8 of Cups is usually like walking away from emotional things. And so maybe it's that that they got, their comeuppance kind of, I don't know. But without really having to spend a whole week of like feeling bad, they kind of just gotten taken out right away. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think about that combo?
Well, the Justice card is interesting because I feel like Jess really felt like they were doing the right thing to give everyone justice, especially themselves. Like, I think there was a lot of entitlement of like, I deserve this and I'm going, so I definitely feel the justice just for like behavior and personality. Doesn't tell us that they went out mid, but they didn't get any justice. Or the justice
definitely
they got
not.
was like not positive. Maybe they got the justice that they deserved, but
maybe
hard to say.
I don't know. That one is definitely one of the harder pairs.
Yeah.
Her Mon got the Devil. We talked about the Devil being he's very persuasive with materialism and things to lure you in. And so he did have that kind of snake oil salesman pitchy vibe sometimes, and so that was a little bit of like kind of the Devil energy. He's also a Taurus. The Devil is represented by Capricorn, and so like it is an earth sign, so being kind of grounded in the material world. I don't know if it shows anything about his placement though.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is like the Justice card. Like the Justice, I feel like is Jess, and the Devil is definitely Herman. It's not as bad as it sounds. He's not a devil, but literally when people learn about tarot, they'll be like, the Devil is like a car salesman. Like, that's one of the archetypes. And he genuinely is a car salesman and had that vibe in the house. So yeah, I definitely feel like that's fitting of him without telling us where he's going to place. Yeah.
What number is the Devil?
I can look that up.
I'm not
15. 15.
There was more than 15 people left, so that's not necessarily it. Or yeah. So never mind. I was trying to make a correlation, but it didn't work. Next, we have Moose. I know that you have to go, so I'm going to try to speed through these super quick.
That's okay. I can run a little late.
So Moose got the 4 of Swords. I was originally saying that he needs to be a little bit more complacent and a little bit low key, a little bit laid back, and I think that did work for him a little bit. But then it was too late for him to be able to even really convince everybody to do anything. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it represents his card or his placement, but it's not specific. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. I mean, all 4s are some sort of break, some sort of stop or rest. And he did do that. He did come in strong and then have to sort of take a beat. But yeah, where he places it doesn't tell us. But he did have to take a moment in the game.
Definitely. Yeah, it wouldn't have been a winning card for me, but now, so he was the second juror. No. So I'll just keep that in my mind next time as to where they could place. Next is our Gummy Bear King. So Gino, Cancer, King of Wands, and the 8 of Wands reversed. So I was thinking the King of Wands was a winning card for him, and I think that it was, but I think that the 8 of Wands in reverse was the Gummy Bear saga, because usually the 8 of Wands is like, go for it, yes, like all that energy is like supporting you with fire, passion. Then you have like the best king. I would say King of Wands, that's our Steve Jobs. He's the leader. He like things that you're passionate about, and so I thought that he potentially could be winning, but he's going to have people that's going to be chasing him down. Little did we know that it was
a Gummy Bear chasing him down.
Yeah. Yes, the Gummy Bear and Marty chasing him down.
Yeah. King of Wands is a great card. Oh, and he was great for most of the season. Yeah. Like people did look up to him. People wanted to work with him. He was definitely, but that go action-packed 8 of Wands upside down. Just
it's like, nope.
No, don't go for it. The answer is don't go for the Gummy Bear.
So now that I'm learning that it seems like if you have a positive card and then like another card in reverse, it's kind of negates the action of the positive card. It seems.
Now,
like that's
why
what the
do
pattern
some
is.
of them have 2 cards?
Because they just kind of popped out. Right.
Oh,
so
I
was
like
I just pulled one card. Exactly. So 2 just jumped out, and that's kind of why I took them. So I think I've learned something from that combination, though. Definitely. I thought it was still going to be a winning combination, but it was not.
Yeah.
And then we got a Sema, who also has double cards. Also, I think that, we got Justice. So kind of like justice being served. I do think justice was served to a certain extent to Summer for the game that she was playing. She wasn't really doing anything, right? She wasn't really offering any sort of commitments to people, promises, nothing. Like, I'm not going to promise anything. Like, there was she wasn't making any of these contracts or any of these reasons for people to keep her. And so I think that she kind of got what she gave out at this point. And then with the tower coming in for the triple eviction, like it just kind of took out.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like getting your just desserts could be a positive thing, but if you're sitting next to the tower, it ain't going to be positive. It's coming crashing down. I mean, look at the visual of the tower. It's not, it can be good because change can sometimes be good in our lives, but it is coming crashing down. Yeah. It's rarely comfortable.
If you want to see the tower, you'd hopefully want to see the star as well, which is the card that comes after it, which shows hope and that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But this is saying to me that justice will be served in a messy, messy way. And I think that's
it was
very indicative of the triple. So I thought that one was pretty
shock. Yeah, she was shocked that she was being evicted. And it was during a triple. Like the whole thing was just, whoa.
Whoa. And then we got Marty. So Marty had the 5 of Wands. I didn't think that Marty was going to win the game. I thought that it was interesting that his downfall ended up being the 5. The 5 having all of his faith in the 5, and having faith in Helena and Kevin going to keep Gino in when he made that decision with the gummy bear. So definitely 5 of Wands. It says messy to me. If there's ever another 5-person alliance, I'll think that they're going to self-destruct in some sort of capacity if I see this card for them. Definitely not a winning card. So this seems pretty indicative of his game.
A 5 of Wands represents competition, and I find that interesting because he was very competitive physically. I don't know that it always is going to mean physical, but wands are physical more than like a sword or something. So he was physically competitive.
Yes, he was. Next up, so this is one that fooled me a little bit, was JC Lynn. There she is.
Yeah.
So she got the 3 of Cups. Now, I'm thinking, like, she went out 4th. I'm thinking that she was the last 3 women standing. So it was her, Helena, and Betty were the last 3 women left in the house. So I could look at it that way because it looks like it's 3 women celebrating. And so maybe that's what this card means. Like, so getting it to the point where she's one of the final 3 women is kind of where it seems like this card meant for her particular game this season.
Yeah, I remember you saying you thought she might be final 3 because it is a celebratory. I thought it was going to be a throuple again, but
I could see it. I thought this also could have been a winning card, right?
Yeah,
for the celebration.
But cups are emotional, and so I'm not surprised that someone with a 3 of Cups was in a showmance. 3 of Cups can also be giving birth. To a couple giving birth is also represented with the 3 of Cups. So if
you heard it here first,
if she gets knocked up within the next few months, I'm not going to be surprised by this card.
That would be wild, to be fair. Like, super wild. Who's next? Helena, I guess, right?
Helena, not Kevin.
So Helena stumped me a little bit. But Paige's arcs can be considered to be new beginnings. They also are messengers. And so maybe because it's reversed, maybe she didn't get the right message, or she wasn't sending out the right messages, or relaying the right messages, because Kevin's relationship with Josh and then also even with Betty in the end was what allowed him to move forward. She didn't communicate very well with other people in the house. And so I wasn't fully sure, though, how to interpret this Page of Wands reversed.
I don't know, other than I'm seeing a theme here of all your reversed cards. Something went terribly wrong with their game, right? Like, obviously everyone gets booted, but like it feels like the people who had reversed cards got some sort of like shocking boot.
Interesting. Okay, so a shocking boot. So you're gonna have to help me, though, figure out what it means for the winning card. Almost there. We got Josh up next. I feel like this is very indicative of Josh.
It's
so he
Betty.
Was the other person.
It should be Betty up next.
Oh shoot, I forgot. Okay, sorry. Where's Betty? Top. Okay. Oopsies. So Betty, she went out 3rd, and so that was pretty spot on, right?
Yeah.
3 of Cups reverse, getting taken out in an emotional way. 3rd placer.
Yeah. Another surprising boot, shocking upheaval there, and she went out 3rd, and emotionally, yeah, that one fits. But we've had so many other 3 of Cups, so it's so confusing.
Absolutely. I should have pulled clarifiers, but then it would just take too long.
Yeah.
And then Josh, so he had the Page of Wands reverse as well. and then the Four of Cups. So I think the Four of Cups is kind of like how he played most of his game this season, is like getting along with people, et cetera, et cetera. But then like, you know, taking people out, was the cause of some of these super surprising boots. And so maybe that's why it wasn't surprising that he didn't win.
Yeah, well, Four of Cups is another four. The four is like take a beat, take a rest, and I definitely feel like he had that slow burn of a game, and he was so emotional. He's absolutely a Cups representative, and he built emotional relationships with other people. So I definitely see that Four of Cups for him. Interesting, because the Page of Wands reversed is what Helena had. Maybe that shows us that those two were going to be in an alliance with Kevin. Okay. They were the crash test dummies. I don't know.
They were. Well, Kevin does not have a Page of Wands. So our final card,
or King of Wands?
No, he's the King of Cups reversed. Oh, it should have been reversed. Sorry, I didn't flip it by accident, but
but it was reversed.
Yes.
King of Cups reversed.
So I'm wondering if it's because, you know, you're kind of correlating the whole you know, going out in a wild way, but maybe in this case, because he doesn't have another card with it. So Gino had a king, but he had another card that was reversed that took it down. Maybe this one, you know, he didn't allow his emotions to get into the way of his gameplay, he allowed other people to make emotional decisions that he benefited from. And so maybe that's how we can look at the King of Cups reversed.
Well, I love that a king card won. I mean, I think that's very, because you're going to think a king is a great card. That's amazing. So that is interesting that he had a king. I don't get the cups though, because he was not an emotional player. Although,
but it's reversed though, right? So,
but it's reversed, yeah.
If you think about reverse cards, like, and you have it actually flipped up, it's kind of like all the vessels where the water, the emotions would be held, are going to be emptying. So yeah, it's like lack of emotion. It can be. And so that's kind of where I would think of with this card, is like, he was completely anti-emotion. Like, you know, obviously he cried with Helena and stuff like that in some of these moments, but like,
he was more emotional than we realized, but he did not let that affect his game. I don't think. Maybe
it's probably his Cancer rising.
He's absolutely got feelings for sure. Well, that's really interesting. Yeah, I don't do, just for those watching, like, reverse cards is a thing in tarot, but that you don't have to do. Like, I don't like reverse cards. So
there's definitely, but there's both, like, there's both polar opposites of each card, right? And so the reverse sometimes just takes a look at them and just allows you to be a little bit more specific at times. So, but even reading it upright is still going to give a fair understanding and assessment, because you're going to be also tapping into your intuition. So, I get you. Don't worry.
I love it. Thank you for putting this together so that we could talk through it, because it is really interesting to see after the fact, like, what the card meant.
Absolutely. And I feel like for the most part, they were pretty on the money. And now I will be able to read the next time a little bit better, seeing how these cards kind of showed up. I could be like, well, now I saw an Ace of Wands. I'm not expecting you to go, you're not winning this game. You're definitely going to be out pre-jury, or probably first, or maybe first juror. You know what I mean? So it will help me and you be able to decipher, you know, BB24's tarot prediction. So
yes, absolutely. I would think that major arcana cards would last longer, but that didn't necessarily happen.
There was none by themselves other than the Devil. So it's kind of like, out of all the cards that, like, major arcana, like, it was Justice, but they also were kind of with another card that was a little bit more negative. So there wasn't any, there wasn't like an Empress card or the Star or the World, like very definitive, like, winning kind of cards. Oh, one last thing that if you just want to just speculate on is that
Okay.
I did also look and see what the cards were for the season.
Oh
And
yeah.
so it was King of Pentacles, the Hanged Man reverse, and the Two of Wand reverse, but just you don't have to say the reverse part. So King of Pentacles, Hangman, and Two of Wands.
Well, that's interesting. A King of Pentacles would tell me a man won.
Interesting.
What were the other two?
The Hangman.
Hanged Man.
So, I mean, I think with the hangman's usually about getting new perspective. And in this case,
Letting
it's
go.
reverse. So like, I think that it's like not necessarily knowing which direction to go. So I'm wondering if it's the chaos of this season, because it never went in the direction that I was expecting it to go. It was always like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're kind of like,
That's
all
true.
like, the hangman's usually upside down and it's like, doesn't know where to go. And it's major arcana. So really major events, major changes. And so we had
Yeah.
a few major moments that were very unpredictable.
Yeah, the hangman is you got to let things go. You got to let it go. And they literally did that every week. They were like, let's let go of our alliances. Let's let go of the rules that we've implemented. Let's literally just start over every week. And that's true.
And then the last one was the Two of Wands.
Two of Wands. Well, twos are duos. Wands are very active, fiery people. And so it would make sense that the winner or a duo ruled the game, I would say. I could see that. Yeah.
Love it. So tarot's perfect. No, I'm just kidding.
Had we had done that prediction preseason, I would have said none of that stuff. It's much easier to say it after you see it.
True. True.
But I think we would have said chaos. And
we also had said that maybe there's going to be a lot of money on the line potentially, because it was the game show theme. It didn't really, I guess people did win extra money. So like Herman won like $5,000.
Oh, that's true.
Couple $1,000
Kevin was the only one who got that door. Remember, first week?
I know.
Okay, if you survive the block, you can go to a door. He only won $500, but they never did it again. He's the only one who got that.
I thought that should be like the whole season, but you know, what do I know?
It was a fun twist. They should have done it. Oh, well. Anyway. Well, I'm so excited that we got your story. I can't believe that you have been so close to Kevin in your life. And then you didn't know, but you were very drawn to him as soon as he showed up preseason. And so it makes sense.
It's so weird, especially since we have such similar signage. Like I was like supporting him so much, and I was like, I don't know, is it just because he's Aquarius? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I support Kevin. So
well, I support him too because he became one of the greatest to ever play, and so I appreciate that. But the season overall, so delightful, just an absolute joy.
Because I guess like his roommates like they crash tested my apartment.
They sure did. They were like, "Are you a crash test dummy? Because here we come into your apartment." Amazing. The only time you want a home invasion is when they got a really good story and you're live on the internet for people.
And I know the next knock on my door is going to be from Kevin. You know that's what's going to happen now, right?
We can't wait. We can't wait to hear about it.
They literally hang out still all the time, I'm sure. Like there's always people there. They always have people on their back patio. Like I think there's also been times where like we have a picnic bench out on the front yard, and so like I've come home and there's like a group of people that are sitting on the picnic bench. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of those people there as well. And so now though I know that he's going to see the footage of like the invasion.
He's already heard about it. He's already knows this exists. You're there.
And so I think that next time he's here, he's going to knock. And so then I'll do an exclusive or something.
Yes, that's the thing. We need him on Reality Realness. We need an interview. We need y'all to become besties. We're supportive of all of this. And you didn't say this, but Jillian was there at the party.
So Jillian was here. I was like, oh my God, she should have come on. She's like, no, she was too shy. But like part of the chanting and the people outside that I'm hearing, one of those people was Jillian, obviously wearing the shirt. So
yes,
Jillian's been here many times. Jillian's probably watched many episodes here Because now that
Right.
I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh, maybe there has always been commotions on the days that there was
Big Brother
episodes, but I
nights.
didn't really think about it.
Right. Of course. Well, thank you again for coming on to talk about it. We had to get your whole recap, all of your perspective, all of your thoughts on this incredible season. So excited. And obviously, Chantele will be back for more stuff. I don't know what yet, but
Am I not joining you right now to watch Australian Big Brother?
Are you? Are you? I
Yeah,
didn't know this.
I
Oh,
am.
okay.
I am. I need to get a glass of
See?
water, but yes, I'm coming.
See, Chantel shows up when she doesn't even tell me. This is great. We love it. Yes, everyone who doesn't know, we're about to watch the first premiere episode of Big Brother Australia. That will be on Twitch only, but give me a second to set up. Give Chantel a second to get some water. So we'll see you in a few minutes. All right, guys? All right. Thank you
Bye.
for joining us. Bye.